The president is now entering a world of public service. He's going to be asking his own appointees to make sacrifices. He's going to be asking our men and women in uniform to risk their lives in conflicts around the world. So no, I don't think divestiture is too high a price to pay to be the president of the United States of America.
That was the director of the Government Ethics Office, Walter Shaub, back in January. As you know, President Trump refused to divest, and this week, Mr. Shaub resigned. This is his first and only Sunday interview. Mr. Shaub, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, George.
Shortly after you gave that speech, the White House Chief of Staff, Reince Priebus, was on this program. I want to show you what he said. Will the president-elect be taking any further steps to deal with his possible business conflicts? We saw what he announced this week, but the head of the Office of Government Ethics said that he considered this meaningless from a conflict of interest perspective.
Right, and the head of the government ethics ought to be careful because that person is becoming extremely political.
What went through your head when you saw that, and did White House pressure have anything to do with your decision to resign?
Well, when I saw that, it was really an interesting morning because I was watching live. I think the fairly explicit threat from Reince Priebus during that show really is emblematic of how the interactions with the White House have been since the beginning of this administration. But no, I wasn't pushed out at all.
And as you know, Norm Eisen, who is President Obama's ethics counsel, called your decision a protest resignation. Is he right?
Well, I've been doing government ethics for a long time, and I really always thought that the ethics rules were strong enough to protect the integrity of the government's operations. My recent experiences have convinced me that they need strengthening, and frankly, they convinced me that I've achieved all I can possibly achieve in this job. When the opportunity at the Campaign Legal Center came up, I wanted to seize it before it was gone because I really think I may be able to have more impact from outside the government than inside at this point because I'll have a lot more freedom outside the government.
The White House gave us this statement after your resignation. I want to read it to you. Here's what it says. It says, Mr. Shaub has been outspoken by leaking, tweeting, and writing letters to Democrat members of Congress. But since the president was sworn into office, he never once raised travel, passive holdings, or other ethics issues involving the president in a single discussion with the White House counsel or deputy counsel overseeing ethics and compliance. Your response?
Well, that's just a ridiculous statement. I'm the head of a federal agency, and I make decisions about what information we're going to release in an official way on behalf of the agency in order to communicate with the public. And one of the prime functions of the executive branch ethics program is to try to engage the public, bring them, help them understand the ethics rules and how they're being applied, and help them to have confidence in the government's operations when the rules are being followed. And frankly, I've only got two sources of leverage. One of them is the White House, and that has always worked in the past because every White House in both Democratic and Republican administrations have been incredibly supportive of the ethics program until now. But lacking that support, the only other avenue OGE has to leverage change is communicating with the public and enlisting them. But no, I haven't just been sitting around writing to one party's members of Congress. I've been responding to letters and questions that have been sent to me, and that's the responsibility of the head of an agency. It's only in the past few months that the executive branch has ceased responding to any letters from Congress other than those from committee chairs. But it's always been understood that you're supposed to respond to members of Congress, and they haven't all been Democrats. Some of them have been Republicans.
But is the White House right when they say you never raise these issues directly with the White House counsel?
I've spoken with the White House counsel quite a number of times prior to the election. After the election, he absented himself from the program and had us deal with his deputy who's in charge of ethics, and we've worked closely with them, so I have no idea what they're talking about.
And going forward, what exactly do you hope to do, and what kinds of changes do you think are needed in the laws right now?
Well, I think we had a recent experience where OGE tried to conduct one of its routine oversight functions by collecting ethics records from the executive branch. The White House has responded consistently by challenging OGE's authority to carry out its routine and most basic functions and fought us on even releasing those waivers. And then when we finally got the waivers, it was heartbreaking to see that many of them were unsigned, undated, explicitly and implicitly retroactive, and that two of them were issued by the Council of the President to a class of appointees that he's a member of. That's just incredible. So what I'd like to see is OGE to have a good deal more authority to compel the release of documents and records. I'd like to see some enforcement capacity, and I'd like to see some rules to address presidential conflicts of interest, because every past president since enactment of the Ethics in Government Act has understood that a president can have conflicts of interest and should address them. And the breach of that ethical tradition has been the start of every problem that's flowed from that in the past several months.
Mr. Shaub, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.